honor to be on a team of professionals who have been presenting this workshop for almost 2 decades now, and I wanted to welcome you and thank you for taking the time to join us. Okay, just want to make everybody aware that this event is recorded and it's running live right now on Facebook. The recording after the session will also be on Facebook and will also be posted on YouTube, thanks to Jeff Morris. And so it'll be there for others to view in the future. So just know that by participating in this event, we'd like you to be aware, if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you're basically giving consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear on those platforms. So we just want to be very transparent about that and let you know what's taking place. We're doing that because we want others to benefit who maybe didn't have the chance to attend this meeting live. And so with that, I'm going to go on to the agenda for today. We are going to hear a message of encouragement from Pastor Steve Fisher, who is the pastor of Care Ministries at Stonebriar Community Church, who normally hosts our workshops when we do the all-day version from 9 to 3:30, 3 times a year. And Steve has been a staunch supporter of this ministry, and it's based on the premise of helping other people every day, especially during this particular time when so many are looking for new employment or in transition, or unfortunately have been cut short by this COVID-19 episode that's hit our country. So we want to be sure as many people can take advantage of the excellent information and resources that the professionals on our panel can provide. A couple of things after the message of encouragement, Jeff Morris will do his presentation on networking, and he's got a lot of good information to share. And if you haven't heard Jeff before, I think you'll be really, really encouraged by all the information that he has available for you. After the presentation, we will spend the last 25 minutes of our schedule in a Q&A session with our expert panel, and then we'll give you a preview of our next presentation, which will be next Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. And it will run at the same time from 3 to 4:30, and we will cover another aspect of searching for employment with another professional with helpful information. One thing I'd like to cover with you is that if you want to ask a question, what we would like to ask all participants to do, if you're on this Zoom meeting, is to go to the chat box, which is on your information bar, and click on chat, and then in the chat, put a question mark first, and then your question. That way we can quickly identify it from other comments that are done in chat, and we can get those to the panel when we have our Q&A. So we would appreciate it if you would go ahead and do that and begin with a question mark, so we know right away that it's a question to be presented to the panel. If you're on Facebook, please enter your questions in the comment field on the Facebook page, where we will monitor that and be able to present those to the Q&A panel as well. So without further ado, I'm going to start a recorded message from Steve Fisher, who, God bless him, he keeps busy 16 hours a day, but he's taken the time, since he couldn't make it live to this session, to record a message of encouragement. and that's what we're going to play for you now.
Hello, my name is Steve Fisher, and I'm the Care Ministries pastor of Stonebriar Community Church in Frisco, Texas. And I'm humbled and privileged to have been asked to say a few words today before the workshop begins. Preferably those are words of encouragement, perhaps of insight. I just hope they bless you and inform you and help you. What we're going to do today, I think, is talk about time. I'm going to look at time in three different areas: the past, the future, and the present. And each of these time periods have what I would call a blessing side and a shadow side. And so let's begin to look and at each of these time frames and kind of pull apart what I'm talking about. So let's take a look at the past. There is a blessing when your thoughts and your emotions wander back to things that have already occurred. You can derive some lessons learned, some wisdom when you look back and you begin to kind of assess what you did, what you didn't do, and hopefully that you improve and you learn something from it. I'm a big fan of the Green Bay Packers. And I remember as a kid growing up, there was a film clip on our local TV station of Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr. And Vince and Bart were going over game film. And I thought it to be really instructive. You could see the coach talk to the quarterback and say, hey, you did good here, or you missed the call on this one. But it was done in such a way that the quarterback learned. And I think that's not a bad habit to get into, is to kind of look back and have this honest reflection of, okay, I did this well, I didn't do this that well. And so it gives that opportunity for some learning and some discovery. The shadow side. The shadow side of living in the past is because you really can't do anything about it, can you? And there's this theory of anger, and anger grows in the space between what I desire, what I expect, and what reality is. And so anger is what we call a resolving emotion. It tries to bring up reality to what I expect. And unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. We have to take our expectations, connect them with reality, and then collectively bring them up. But if we spend too much time in the past, if we spend too much time trying to reconcile things that we can't, sometimes it's like running in quicksand, right? The harder you worry, the harder you think about what's gone on in the past, you just sink deeper. And so you get stuck. And so if we spend time in the past, it's opportunistic to be an instructive time, a learning time, a growing time. But if we spend all our time back in the past, we are stuck in the past. And there's generally that anger that is associated with that, because you can't do anything about it, but we keep trying to. And that takes away from the moment. It takes away from the present. So let's look at the second unit of time. That unit of time we'll call the future. And there is a tremendous amount of blessing to be able to spend time looking in the future. That's where hope lies. That's where perhaps new motivation. Okay, I want to get to here. That means I will take extra classes. I will go to extra workshops. I'll talk to extra people. But there's a sense of hope of, this is where I'm going. This is where I can be. And many times that provides that hope and motivation to grow, to push yourself forward a little bit. It's a blessing to be able to do that. And for those who are Christians, it is really, again, the blessing of our Savior, that we are not confined to the mistakes or the sins of the past, that our Lord has taken those sins upon us, and we can have a better tomorrow than yesterday or even today. That's no small feat. We aren't stuck in Groundhog's Day. We can learn and we can grow and we can move forward with hope and motivation to find a way to move forward and not be stuck. The shadow side of living in the future too much is that's where anxiety grows. Because even though we're hopeful and even though we're motivated, we don't have any control. And when we spend too much time looking forward, we become anxious. And we become anxious in a fashion that is fear-based. Generally, we don't often look in the future with an abundance of confidence. Sad to say, we look with some fear, foreboding, some anxiousness. And so if you are spending a great deal of time looking in the future, what's going to happen, running scenarios out, uncertain of what it may bring, while you have a blessing in terms of identifying some motivating goals to achieve, but if you spend too much time back there, most often you just are reduced to a bundle of anxieties and a bundle of fear, and that's a very paralyzing set of emotions. So now let's move to the present, the blessing side of the present. That's how we can experience life. It's how we are able to feel with some degree of immediate gratification, friendships and loved ones and relationships and all of the things that go into our day-to-day that make life worthwhile. Eating a good cheeseburger, taking a walk, observing a beautiful painting, a piece of art, or listening to a tremendous piece of music, or maybe talking to a dear friend. All of the things that are present and current that I believe our God gives us so that we may be engaged in this life. So living in this present moment has the great blessing of being engaged in life and being able to receive the real-time blessings of a real and present God. The shadow side, yeah, there is a shadow side, I think. Because sometimes when we're in the present, we are absent, meaning the time goes by, but we are absent. We are just not present in day-to-day life. And therefore, for lack of a better word, we're wasting that time. That a day goes by, a week goes by, a month goes by, 3 months go by, a year goes by, and we've not engaged in anything. So the danger is of staying focused, of being in the present, is that you may be just so present that you're absent. You're not thinking about, okay, where am I going? You're not learning from where I've been. And really the opposite occurs of the great blessing that we have been given. For those who are believers in Christ, one of the great blessings of being present and engaged in your life is this is how we get to experience the third person of the Trinity, the Holy Spirit. For the great counselor, the great convictor, the great comforter, our scriptures say has been indwelt in us. And therefore we have the constant opportunity to listen to lean into a God that loves us, that cares about us, that never lets us alone. And so I pray that gives you great comfort. So each day brings us the opportunity to spend time in these three areas. When we're in the past, the question really is, and we'll spend time through a day in various pieces, parts of that time. And again, each have their blessings and each have their shadow side. And so we're asking you to be aware of that. Where are you? Where do you spend most of your time? And I think a distribution of all three of those is really important. So if you're spending time in the past, that has the opportunity to be full of worry and anger and trying to change things that simply cannot change. That's the shadow side. The blessing side is it's an opportunity to grow and learn, where you gain wisdom from. Most of life is not a cognitive ascent, it's iterative, it's trial and error, we learn. And so if you're not attending to that, I think you lose some opportunities for some wonderful life lessons, professional lessons. The second place we talked about is the future. The shadow side of the future is that you can become so overwhelmed with anxiety and uncertainty, and fear becomes the only place that you draw any of your thoughts from or your energy from. And that fear and that anxiety just locks you up. But the blessing side of looking in the future, that's where hope comes in, that we can have a better tomorrow than yesterday. That's where the opportunity to become motivated, to push yourself, to grow, to use the gifting that God has given you. And so again, the downside, the shadow side, is fear and anger. The upside is hope and motivation. And finally, the present, what we call today. The shadow side is that you could be absent, that you're not attentive to it, and you're wasting the moments that God has given us. And they're precious moments. The blessing of staying in today is to be present with your Holy Spirit, to seek the counsel, to hear the conviction, to provide the comfort. And so you're engaged. And that's my deep hope, after listening to these few words, that you do take a little time to take an inventory. Where am I spending the majority of my time? And if I'm spending it there, am I looking at the shadow side of it? Or am I giving the opportunity for a blessing to occur? And so I often say this, that life is hard. Not an original statement. But it's always harder when you go through it alone. And that's what I remind you, that if you have a faith, our scripture says a cord of three is the strongest, that you've got the Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. You have yourself. And one of the wonderful things I love about these networking opportunities, about what you are going to hear, what you're going to listen through, is that you're not alone. We have other people. So that cord of three is your own capacities, your own gifting, the power of the sovereign God and one another. And it's that cord that is the strongest, no matter what you're going through. I believe that if you hold with that cord of three, you're going to be fine. And the good people of this workshop, they are indeed good people and are here to help you, to serve you. And I pray that you take advantage of that. So again, a great privilege to just take a few moments and perhaps give you that different perspective of time in the three areas of time: our past, our future, and our present. And I pray that you are bringing the right focus, the right distribution of time, so that your blessings are abundant, and then you're able to share them with others. Wouldn't that be great? So again, I appreciate the opportunity to take a few minutes. I know you're going to have an incredible experience. And again, if there's anything we can do at Stonebriar Community Church, let us know. So see you soon. Bye.
Okay. I'm very grateful for Steve taking the time he has. Steve is a personal friend as well as a pastor to me, and he also is a licensed professional counselor, has a degree in physiology. As a matter of fact, he's got 2 masters as well as a degree from Dallas Theological Seminary. So he always gives a different perspective and insight, and we're very, very happy to have him as part of our team. We're really blessed by that. So now we're going to move on to the meat of the subject, the meat of the meeting, so to speak, which is networking and building relationships by Jeff Morris, who facilitates the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. And so, Jeff, I'm going to hand it over to you. And again, if you have questions while Jeff is presenting, please be sure and put them in the chat box, and type a question mark first so we know it's a question to be addressed by our panel. Jeff?
Great, thank you very, very much. So, I mean, like John was just saying, my background is like manufacturing operation professional running a small business, 100 employees or less, as a general manager and operation manager or whatever. But back in 2007, I started facilitating the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I invented Career FW back in 2008, got invited to go to the White House in 2012. And because of what I heard while I was there, I started CareerUSA.org to help those outside the DFW area. My background, like I said, is in light manufacturing. I've been part of the practice interview team since 2016, and I'm excited to share with you a little bit about what is networking. So networking and building relationships. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, networking is exchange of information or services among individuals, groups, or institutions, specifically for the cultivation of productive relationships for employment or business. The two main words here are exchange and cultivation. In other words, it's not about you. It's not about, you know, what you can gain out of this. The object is, this is a two-way process as far as giving and receiving. Great networking relationships are only built over time. You can't meet somebody one time and make it work. It's something you have to cultivate. You have to continue on. You have to follow up with people and follow up with what they have to say. Networking is building relationships. It's something that we've been doing our entire lives. When we went to kindergarten, we built relationships with other young kids. As we went through elementary school and high school and college, and when you were working, you built relationships with other people in the office to help get what you need and to do what you want to do. It's a two-way process. You have to give and receive, because if you give back to people, they will then give to you. Networking is not a natural ability. It's not something that you're born with. It takes time. You have to practice it. The more you do it, networking will become a skill that you will naturally improve on. Why do you want to network in a job search? Well, networking is considered the most effective way into finding a job, particularly in these times that we're having right now. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 70% of all jobs are found through networking. ABC News reports that over 80%, and the Alumni Association of the Harvard Business School puts the number somewhere between 60 and 85%. 80% of your job search should be allotted to networking. And I think people get hung up all the time on resumes and other objects. They're not out trying to make connections with people. Why do what are some of the reasons for this? Successful people who do business primarily with people who know what they like. Resume, cover letters alone are too impersonal to convince employers to hire you. Job listings tend to draw a pile of applicants, which put you in intense competition with many others. But networking makes you a recommended number of a much smaller pool. When you can network into a company and have somebody hand deliver your resume to a hiring manager of the HR department, you get put in a whole different category than you do that when you are just applying on an ATS systems. You know, the job you may want may never have been advertised. You know, a majority of jobs are never advertised. They're filled by word of mouth. We had a gentleman in our Friday group last December go to a lunch. He had a networking lunch with somebody, and after lunch he said, you know, it sort of seemed a little bit like an interview. He was asking me all these questions and stuff. Well, about 2 weeks later, the guy reached out to him and says, we want to hire you. We're going to put an application. I mean, everything I learned I need to know about you, I found out about you at lunch. We're going to post it on our ATS system. When I do, I need you to apply. And as soon as you apply, then I'll take the posting down. And a week and a half later, he's employed working at this company. So you never know what a networking event or a networking conversation is going to lead to. So you need to develop a plan. How are you going to network? Who are you going to network with? So first of all, you've got to determine your target companies. How are you going to do that? What are you looking for? It's important to take the time to research companies. You're wasting time and energy if you just sit there and apply for this job opening and then this job opening and this job opening. You need to focus in on what company you really want to work for. It's impossible to do the amount of research necessary in a job search for every company in your area, so you've got to narrow it down to the top 50 or 100 companies that you'd be interested to work for. How do you do that? There's a great presentation about how to use Reference USA done by a couple local people here in the DFW area. It happens to be on the Career DFW Facebook page. You can go back and see that video, how to research a company using Reference USA. It's a wonderful presentation. It's a free service you can get through your public library. Find those companies, and then you can narrow down what it is you're looking for. The time that you spend upfront investigating companies will benefit you in the long run, because you won't be spending time and energy applying for a company that you're not a good fit in. Instead, you'll be applying for jobs at companies where you would like to work. So once you've found a company to target, the next step is to research the company to verify that, in fact, it's a good match. How are you going to do this? You're going to go to Glassdoor. You're going to go to LinkedIn company sections. You're going to Google the company. You're going to reach out to your LinkedIn contacts that you may know there and go, tell me about the company. What's it like? You can look on Hoover's, Mantra, whatever. Just, you want to get out and you want to research the company so you know who's out there. Once you've prepared your plan, it's time to develop a network. And who is your network? Your network is everybody you know, friends, family, professional associates, your neighbors. You never know. I just heard a person a couple days ago who met their neighbor, and the neighbor happens to be working and said they didn't really know what each other did. They networked, they found out what it is, and the guy got a job working at this company. His neighbor's 2 houses down from him. So you never know who somebody knows. Social acquaintances, can't do that very much right now. Classmates, alumni, a great place to find it's a common bond when you've gone to a university or a college campus, and you can network with somebody, even if it's somebody who is 10 or 15 or 20 years apart from your age. You still went to the same place. You still enjoyed the same football games. You still enjoyed the same things on campus. So reach out to alumni. It's a very great way to do things. Check with your professors and teachers. If you're a recent college graduate, they can be a big help. I know my son benefited from one of the professors at Indiana University, which is where he went, and he benefited and got the help from a professor who helped him network into a position. Former coworkers, clients, vendors, anybody who think about this, anybody you've written a check to in the past year, or you've Venmoed money to, or Zelled money to. If you have somebody cleaning your pool, they probably know a lot of people. Who cuts your hair? Who styles your hair? I bet they probably know a lot of people. Does the person know you're looking for a job? You need to let people know about those kinds of things. So you need to start networking. You've got to get out. And the best way to do that is to set a goal to do 1 or 2 informal informational interviews every day. 2 would be better, 1 before lunch, 1 after lunch. And you want to plan your call times. You want to plan your scripts. You need to have a script on what you're going to say when you pick up that phone to ask somebody. But you have to remember, you're never asking for a job. You're just asking for information. The message has got to be clear, concise, and focused. There's a great 5-page handout on the Career DFW, on the Career USA website. If you type in informational interviewing in the search box and look for a handout by Dennis O'Hagan, it will take you step by step on how to do an information interview and how to ask somebody for 15 minutes. And if they say no, 4 or 5 responses that you can come back with right away and be prepared to how to handle that rejection, and hopefully turn it into a positive. And role play with friends if you need to get started, but you've got to practice reaching out to people and doing those things. It's very, very important. So an information interview, when you do it, you're going to ask for 15, 20 minutes of their time, and you want to stick to it. And if you say, you originally asked for 15 minutes, you can look down at your watch and go, oh, I see we're 12 minutes in. We only have a couple more minutes. I wanted to keep it to 15 minutes because I value your time. Just here's one more question I've got for you or something. A lot of times, if it's a really good back and forth, they will say, no, go ahead, you can ask me more questions. You never want to ask for a job. You are here for information and advice, not for a job. You want to, even if you've already applied for a job at that company, you don't want to mention that. You just want to ask them about the company. You want to ask them, you're gathering information, what the company's like to work for, because you want them to eventually turn around, well, tell me about you. What are you looking for? Well, I think we may have a position like this at our company right now. Would you be interested? Well, sure. Who's the hiring manager? Here's an opportunity for you to try to get somebody to help get you into that position. So those are primary contacts, your friends, family, and neighbors, and people, your first-degree connections on LinkedIn. Your secondary contacts is, once you do an information interview with somebody, you always want to leave that conversation with, well, who else do you recommend I talk to? Can I use your name when I call that person? Because when you do that, these are now secondary contacts. And these are people who know somebody who knows somebody. So hopefully this will form the bridge that will, to the decision makers, that are in your target companies. The approach is generally more effective than writing letters to human resources or sending emails. This is the heart of the hidden job market, to find those jobs that are not being advertised. You want to make sure you're respectful of their time. You got to remember everybody is in a time crunch. You need to be organized and prepared, have, who it is you talk to, have everything written down, ready to go in front of you. And you're not doing a sales presentation. Once again, you're trying to get information about them and what they do, and if you can help, how can you help them? You've got to develop a tracking system. You have to have some way to keep track of all this information, either in Excel, on an Excel spreadsheet, using ACT, using Outlook, using something, but you've got to have all that basic information of dates, names, name of the company, when you talk to them, what you talk to them about, who did they recommend you talk to, and then you build them a new line that you were referred to by so-and-so, that you can keep track of all these kinds of things. So make sure that you have a conversation, you have a column for all these conversations and all these contacts, so you can follow up and have a category for when I need to follow up with these people, just to remind yourself, so you can resort this list every weekend to go, oh yeah, I've got to make sure I contact these people this week. Looking for a job is hard work. I mean, it's really, I think a lot of people rather be working because it's easier, because looking for a job is really hard, especially hard right now with as many people that are out of work as they are right now. But you need to schedule your calendar. You've got to be prepared. Don't wait on Monday morning to decide, well, who am I going to talk to? You should have made that decision the Thursday or Friday before. Be thinking ahead, lining up phone calls, lining up information interviews. Everybody, you can't meet people in person. You may not want to meet people in person right now, but everybody can get a Zoom call, a Zoom account, and you have a 40-minute time limit, and you're able to, meet one-on-one with people. So learn how to do video interviews, learn how to do this. Make sure you know what's in your background and everything. Lead a balanced life. You can't just be looking for work 16 hours a day. You will burn yourself out. You've got to realize that there's more. Yes, there's work, but yes, you've got to be able to find other things to do, church, family, going for walks, just whatever it is you do to exercise. You've got to maintain a positive attitude during this job search. It's stressful, it's very hard, but if you really sort of work at it, it'll be successful. So a few things you need to have. Now, I will say this, that you don't need to have these right now, business cards, because you're not really able to go out and meet people in person. But when we do get back to that and we're able to see people, you need to have business cards. It's got to be part of your professional image. It gives you a sense of who you are and the talents you possess. If you don't have one, you need to make one. Now, but the family here at my house is tired of meeting me in the hallway because I always hand them a business card every time I see them. So they've told me to put them away, so I don't even carry them with me in the house anymore. But if I go out, I'll take them with me. 5 things that you've got to have on your business card: a name, a job target, an area of expertise, a phone number, an email address, and your URL for LinkedIn, because you want people to be able to find you and know who you are. Okay, so please, those are the 5 things you have to have. There are other things you can add to it. If you're in marketing, you want your business card to be more creative. If you're in real estate, you probably want your picture on it, because this is like your ID badge to show people who you are when you show up someplace. Be sure that anything you put on there adds value. If you're just putting stuff on there just because if there's no value to it, don't waste the space. Keep it simple. Be sure to leave the back of the card blank with no plastic coatings. You want people to be right on. Now, I understand some people want to put 5 or 6 words on the back of a business card. That's okay. As long as you leave some space for somebody to write on there, I met you at this networking event, or I met you at Starbucks or something. That's important. Be sure you always carry a good supply of business cards with you. Keep them in a case so they're not all crumply. Have you ever met anybody who, you ask for a business card and they reach into their pocket and they pull out like 40 or 50 cards and they're all sort of crumpled and they're sorting through trying to find a blank card that's they can hand to you? What you've now told somebody is your life is a mess. And if this is the way you organize yourself, I'm not going to want to hire you. So make sure you keep things looking good. And be sure to hand cards directly. Don't just put them on a table and let other people pick them out. You want to directly hand it to them. And be careful, especially with different cultures. If you're handing it to somebody from the Far East, you want to make sure you hand it with 2 hands and present it to them. It's very important. And when you get that business card, put it in your shirt pocket if you can. If you have a pocket up high, never stick it in your back pocket, because you're telling people that, well, the value of your card is I can sit on it. So, you don't want to do that. You want to value somebody else's card. Here's one of the options that I like to use. I print all my own business cards using these Avery 5871 cardstock. I like it. It's clean edges. It prints 10 up at a time. There's 1,400 different templates that you can download. You can set everything up once. You tell it what kind of card you have, and it will automatically print it 10 times for you. You can just do black and white if that's all you have. But just remember, the optic here is to have a card that you may want to change. If you go and have 200 cards printed at Vistaprint or Office Depot, what if you see somebody else's card and go, oh, I really like what they say on there. I should put that on my card. So if you're only printing 10 at a time, you can change your card all the time. Personally, I carry 4 different business cards with me, and I hand out a different card depending on what the situation is. So here is one of my cards. I have my name on it. My name's the biggest thing on the card. What I do, manufacturing operation professional. I have a saying, better, faster, smarter. Phone number, email address, my LinkedIn profile. I'm always promoting Career USA and Career DFW. And I happen to be a 6 Sigma green belt, and I found this is a real talking point. People want to talk about being a 6 Sigma green belt. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about a little bit is about name tags. You need to have a name tag. Now, once again, my family has made me take my name tag off as I walk around the house because they know who I am. But when you do get to go back out and you get to networking events, carry a name tag with you. If you're going to a job fair, take a name tag with you. You want to market yourself, who you are, and let people know what it is you do. You can have multiple name tags like you see here. If I'm promoting Career DFW, Career USA, I have one of the two on the top. On my networking meeting on Friday mornings, it's the card in the lower left-hand corner. When I represent my college at career nights, I use the one in the lower right. I happen to have a degree in broadcasting and meteorology. One day I thought I'd be a Pete Delkus, but that just never happened. Another great place to network is by volunteering. It helps grow your network. It's great for your morale because you're able to give back and help the community do things. Volunteering is good for the community. It may even be good for you personally. It's great for the morale. It helps you grow your network and can be used on your resume to answer, what have you been doing lately? Well, I've been volunteering at the North Texas Food Bank 2 days a week or something. Research has shown that people who volunteer tend to live longer. They have lower rates of depression and enjoy better physical health. They have more friends and they're more self-confident. So get out and volunteer. You can volunteer at your church, a local hospital, your favorite charity. Everybody needs volunteers. Get out and do it and you can help it. And you never know who you're going to meet. All right, so let's talk about networking groups because you're going to want to, when we are able to get back out and see people, you're going to want to meet people in person. Enough of this video online stuff. You want to see a three-dimensional person. So there's 3 types of groups, I think: career networking groups, professional associations, and then business, civic, and alumni organizations. So career networking groups, for the most part, they're mostly unemployed people. How do you find them? Go to careerdfw.org, go to careersearchnetwork.org. Narrow it down to the 2 or 3 groups that give you the most value. So I tell people that when you're unemployed, at the very beginning, go to as many groups as you want the first couple of weeks when they get going again. But then pick out the ones you really, really like, the ones that you got some value from, and then continue to go back to those. Pick 2 or 3 during the week to go to. On the weekends, at night, after dinner, go to as many as you want. But during the day, 8 to 5, that is prime time, find a job time. You want to spend as much time as you can doing information interviewing and networking with people. Here's currently what's online. So if you go to the Career DFW calendar, these are, so you can't meet in person, but here are networking groups that are meeting online via Zoom, and you can sit here and you can pick. Right now, here's the Frisco Career Transition Workshop. You know, here's a LinkedIn seminar. Here's an interviewing seminar. Here's a resume seminar. Here's Frisco Connect that met this morning. So all these groups are on here. These are all groups meeting online. You can go find these groups, get out there, and just because you're stuck at the home doesn't mean you're really stuck, because there's a lot of great places you can continue to network. Professional organizations. For the most part, this is an excellent place to network because you want to find people who are employed. And most people who go to these meetings are employed. So if you want to go to the careerdfw.org website, there is a professional group list. And on that list, it's 18 pages long if you were to print it out. There's tons of different professional groups. Whatever it is you do, there's a professional group. Find them, go there. I bet a lot of them are having online meetings just like we're doing right now. Find them, go network with those people. You can also go to meetup.com, find other people who have similar traits, similar likings. Do you like to knit? Do you like to run? Do you like to bike ride? Whatever it is. Do you like to talk about Java? Do you like to talk about project management? There's groups to do all those kinds of things on Meetup. Find those groups and link in with those. And then there's also LinkedIn groups where you can find places that you can talk and meet with other people. And the last group is business, civil, and alumni organizations. For the most part, these are also employed people. You know, the Lions, the Rotary, Kiwanis clubs, Knights of Columbus, Chamber of Commerce groups. You know, every city has a Chamber of Commerce. You know, go network with those people. Find out what businesses are coming to town. You know, who they may know, because some businesses call up the chamber. Hey, I'm looking for this kind of person. Who can you recommend? Business alumni groups. Find the alumni who used to work in certain business, and then be sure to check your college alumni group, because you never know who they may know who can help you out and be professional. Now, one of the things I want to sort of talk about a little bit here when you talk about business, civil, civic, alumni organizations, and professional groups. Here's a hint when if you're first going to reach out to the president or the organization. Find that person, call them up and go, I'm brand new. I'm interested in joining your group. I want to find out more about it. I see you have a meeting when we get to have meetings again, and they're having dinner meetings or lunch meetings, whatever. You want to ask, who are the 2 or 3 people that you think I should meet? Because I'd like to really, value my networking time. Who do you think I should meet in the group? Because now you've got to focus when you go to those networking meetings, you know who to talk to. And that sort of leads me to the next slide of attending your networking events. When you attend, you've got to know your goal. Why are you going? What's the purpose for attending this particular event? Are you trying to meet a particular person? If you reached out to the president, they said, yeah, you need to meet Joe and Sue and Mary. Those are the 3. They know everything that's going on in town. You've got to go to make sure it happens. You want to be prepared. Have a good supply of business cards. Have a pen and paper to capture information. Be sure to place your cell phone on silent. You don't want to be interrupted by phone, and don't be looking at your phone all the time. Have that connection with other people. Be sure to arrive early. Get there when the group is still small and manageable. Enter the room with a smile. If you have a smile, you'll be perceived as approachable, enthusiastic, and friendly. Be confident. Practice your 10 or 15 second introduction speech so you can tell people who it is, who you are. Be sure to have your name tag with you. Be professional. Your appearance reflects your professionalism as much as anything else. Dress for the occasion. The general rule of thumb is if you have to ask if this is professional, it probably isn't. Always stay in control. You don't want to be remembered as the person wearing a lampshade or wearing some goofy outfit, okay? Exchange business cards. Be sure to follow up. You definitely want to make sure you follow up and mingle. Constantly try to meet new people while you're there. And, ask people, well, who else here do you recommend I, get to know? Be sure to be a good listener. Very important, because if you're a good listener, people will value more about what you say. And be reasonable. Don't expect that you're going to get a job that night, but the object is to be able to walk away with 4 or 5 or 6 business cards of people who you want to follow up with and have an informational interview. So that's my presentation. I'm going to stop and turn it back over to the panel. I heard some dings. I see there's some questioning coming up here, so we will ask questions. So John, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Boy, it's much easier doing this in person than clicking all the right buttons at the right time. Thanks, Jeff. Really great stuff. I know I'm familiar with it because when we have our Frisco Connect in-person meetings on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays of the month, which we are now doing virtually, the first timers get to attend a secondary meeting, and I mention all those basics, but I don't have the time to get into them to the depth you did, and I appreciate all that detail. There were a couple of comments. If you are an introvert, what's one of the best ways to get started and to practice networking? I'm going to direct that at Jeff, but any of the panel can jump in on that. But before we do have the panel jump in, let me introduce them to you. We've got Jeff with us. We've got Foster Williams on board with us, Rex Sowick, and Locke Alderson. Locke, are you here, sir?
I'm here.
Okay, because I didn't see your image come up. So thank you for being here. Locke is a career consultant, and he will be giving our presentation next week Rex Sowett, who is the godfather of the Career Transition Workshop, has been in human resources for a long time, and he's a manager of and a recruitment and staffing professional at the director level and above. Foster Williams is the founder of the Search for You Inc., or the Career Search Network. And of course, you've heard Jeff here. And then you've got me, who's just a back office volunteer who tries to put things together and manages to throw monkey wrenches around at these meetings. So I'm going to direct that question at Jeff, first of all, and that is, Jeff, what if you're an introvert?
Well, I'm a huge introvert. I'll tell people that. I'll tell you that right now. I am. I don't like big events. I've gotten used to this career stuff because I'm knowledgeable at it, and I think I know what I'm talking about. So, as far as networking here, showing up to a unknown event is something you just have to sort of get better with. I would recommend maybe take a friend with you, somebody you know, but don't be stuck together like Siamese twins. I mean, you have to decide that you've got to get out and you've got to go meet other people. I think I remember reading a study once that you should always, when you see a group of people, never go to a group of 2 people talking if you're going to try to join in, because you don't want to be the third, but find a group that has 3 people in it that are talking, because then when you go in, it blends to an easier way to network. It's hard. It's something you just have to do. You have to get nervous if you need to take a Tylenol before you go just to calm your nerves or something. That's what you need to do. Don't take a drink, but you definitely, it's just practice. You've got to get out and do it. And over time, you will get better.
I like the idea of adding a wingman to go with you.
And your wingman maybe comes from an accountability partner. So if you're in an accountability group, which is an excellent way to move your job search along, your accountability partner is going to say, okay, you got to go meet 3 people today, go. And he'll go meet 3 people, and then you get back together and you compare notes.
Right. Is a comment from Dolores Scott to everyone. An important note is your target companies may not have a position you're looking for, but network anyway, because a position you're looking for is bound to pop up. And that's true. If you make connections at those target companies, even though they don't have a position that you may be looking for, being aware of who you are and your interest in their organization is going to go a long way towards the fact that you want to be a part of their team. And when things do come up, people will remember that.
And now's an excellent time to be reaching out and talking to people. Yes, there's 36 million people who are unemployed, but now's the time to get out and network with these people. These people are stuck at home. They probably, if they're working from home, they may appreciate a 15-minute diversion talking about their company, what it is they do. Mm-hmm. If you can build a relationship when it's time, as companies start to rehire people in the next few months, you may be there.
Mm-hmm. And and Patricia asked this question or made this statement. I'm taking it as a question. Isn't it best to be a speaker at a civic organization and you can talk about a subject that you have expertise in or that they would find valuable? That way, everybody will want to get to know you and speak with you. And if you are a speaker at an organization, present and doing a presentation, people are always going to come up to you afterward, and that's a wonderful way. I know they do with Foster. I know they do with you, Jeff. I know they do with Rex when he does his presentations at when we're doing this workshop live. They always get a bunch of people that are drawn to them based on their presentation. So I think that is I think that's a wonderful comment as well as a question. And Jeff, you mentioned earlier speaking at different organizations like chambers of commerce. A lot of the communities around here also have what's known as, I think it's called CDC, right? Community Development Corporation. That their whole objective is to draw businesses to the community.
That's right. And there's, it's a great opportunity to, reach out to these groups and find, network with those people because they know who's coming to town.
Right. Okay. I don't seem to have any, oh, here we go. Someone's, let me hold on a second. I'm falling a little behind.
John, while you're doing that, I'd like to make a blanket statement about networking. I love the fact that we are addressing networking today at this workshop. Case in point, here in Dallas-Fort Worth, guys, we have a very inordinate amount of opportunities for people to network. I'm really, really enjoying this vehicle that we're using right now, Zoom. Because people do have a little bit of time and people will spend time to chit chat with you on Zoom. My two brothers, Rex Sowett and David Williams, are on this call right now. And we have a call weekly amongst us and another recruiting buddy of ours, Jeff Little, in which we talk about how we can reach out and some of the things that we see in our 30,000, 40,000 foot view of job search, if you will. I might get in trouble for what I'm about to do, but it won't be the first time that I've gotten in trouble with throwing people under the bus. So we have a networking, wonderful networking connection that I made about 2 hours ago named Patricia, and I don't know how she says her last name. Bashi.
It's Bashy.
Bashy. I knew I was going to bash it. I knew I was going to mess that up, Patty. But Trevor Houston, who everybody knows, Trevor introduced me to Patricia. We reached out to each other on LinkedIn. Patricia is in Phoenix. My sister is in Phoenix. I never did get a chance to say that, Patricia. I'm sorry.
Greetings
Patty.
from hot Phoenix. It's going to be 112 this week, so you guys can't complain.
112? Oh, my God. I think I would stay here. And
Yeah, but the humidity's 10%.
Yeah.
True, but it doesn't matter. It's like you open the oven door anyway, so
It's
you
always
take your
something to gripe
choice.
about, isn't it? Yeah. So Patty is with us because I reached out to her and I told her, I said, hey, we've got a wonderful workshop going on today, Patty, and if you've got time, you should join us, because I knew that Jeff was going to be talking, and you talking about somebody that's connected with everybody. That is Jeff Morris. And he is the founder, creator, doer, everything of careerdfw.org and careerusa.org. So when you get some time, Patty, check those two websites out. Connect with Jeff personally. There he is, right there in the middle on the top. I don't know where he is on your screen.
He's to the left of me, Brady Bunch, look.
We got this Brady Bunch thing going on. Hollywood Square. No, it's too many of us for Hollywood Square. But guys, this is the network, and this is how it works. When you are, getting back to what John was saying, when you are involved in something like this, we have all been somewhere. There are a number of people on this call that have been affected by the goings on at JCPenney. And you guys know who you are. I'm not going to point you out. But hi, Dane. So if you get on a call and you talk about what you know about, where God has crossed your path with me and Rex, it's been recruiting in HR. We talk about those things and we share on these Zoom calls. You know what? Somebody will reach out. I believe Abraham Baez there is down in Houston. Are you in Houston, Abraham?
Yes, I am in Houston.
And I met Abraham through our IT network. And so guys, if we talk about what we know, people will be drawn to us, just like what John said. and we will develop, you know, I was going to say relationship, didn't you? We will develop these relationships and we can carry on with that. When we develop a relationship, that person, oddly enough, is willing to help us go where we need to go. And everybody knows a lot of people. And we know, as we recruiters say, Rex, you will identify this statement as the best people refer the best people. And so that's how we get around. And I'm going to shut up because I talk all the time. You guys hear me all the time. And thank you, Patricia, for joining us from sunny Phoenix.
Sunny and hot Phoenix.
Sunny and hot Phoenix. And I want to talk to you about Trello. I know that my 40,000 foot view of job search, I talk to a lot of you guys all the time, and we, for the most part, don't throw any tomatoes at me when I say this. Can't get me anyway, we're on the computer. But we are not keeping up with our job searches, guys. When a company calls us and says, hey, I saw that you applied for a job, and you go, who are you? That's not setting too good of a precedent moving forward with a relationship with that company. So shut up time for Foster. And thank you, Jeff, for starting us on this conversation. I can go and go and go and go about networking. And y'all know that. Okay.
All right. I'm glad you wrapped it up because I was about to mute you.
Yeah, I figured you
Can
were.
I say something real fast?
Sure,
no,
Patricia.
I'll forget.
Okay, so anyway, I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of hope because I know this has been a slog. I've actually been out of work since April 6th when I was laid off, and for basically a whole month, right? We're all in coronavirus lockdown, at least a month and a half. And so with one company, what I had done is I had initially just applied for a position through the ATS, didn't know anybody, wasn't directly connected to anybody there. And then after a while, I looked on there to see, well, do I really know anybody? I had nobody that was a first connection, but there was a second degree connection and her name looked familiar. I looked it up, looked like we worked on some similar accounts at a previous company. I then sent her a message and said, do you have, 30 minutes to just talk about the company culture? And then from that, we set up the meeting and I had asked her, well, just out of curiosity, I had applied for a job. I had gone through the first round and then now I haven't heard anything. Do you know who I can talk to about this? She gave me the HR manager and I connected up with him. They ended up closing that position. They actually pulled the position. They decided not to have it anymore. But guess what? Had a conversation with him last week. Found some other position I was going to apply for, but then he contacted me today saying, here's a position I think you should apply for. I applied for it. I have an interview tomorrow.
Excellent.
So it's all about networking. I've already had 2 interviews with another company. I think I'm going to get an offer this week, but I'm still plugging through in case that one doesn't come in. But I can tell you after 6 or 7 weeks of like doom and gloom, some of the things that I put into place of keeping track of my job search has really helped me. How to do video interviews. You need to practice watching yourself in video and making sure they see your hands so they know you're open and trusting. Otherwise, if they don't, they think you're hiding something. Things of that nature are all things that you should consider. So I've been following and watching a lot of different videos, attended a lot of different job searching sites, as Jeff had mentioned, found some that I liked better than others and stuck with those, but I've learned something from all of them. And I can tell you, I picked up something new every single day. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing this? But you have to do what feels best for you, but it is true. We all have to get out of our comfort zone and move into that growth area, get out of our fear zone. And we're all doing Zoom now that we didn't do 2 months ago, and things of that nature. So there is hope out there. Companies are hiring, and in the Phoenix area, there aren't a lot of companies and consumer packaged goods like there is in Dallas. So obviously it's been harder for me because I'm looking for remote work to fly to clients. So that's what I'm going to be able to have in these 2 positions that are both remote. And one of them, the HR guy, I'm having him look for jobs for me. I'm not even looking. He just
Okay.
tells me what he finds. Have
Very
other
good.
people do the job searching for you. So
Well,
thanks.
thank you, Patricia. Appreciate your sharing that. It'll help encourage others on the call as well. So a lot of good information shared there. You know, Albert's asking Jeff, where can I find stuff about informational interview on Career DFW or USA, Career USA? I know you mentioned it. Could you give a little more information on where on the site it is?
Okay, so for the 5-page handout, I'm trying to get the website up right now, and I'll share my screen so you can see it. Let's see here. So here on the Career USA website, if right down here in the search box, you type in informational, if I can spell it right, and I didn't even spell that right. Let's try again. You'll see some files will pop up, and what you're doing is you're looking for one from Dennis O'Hagan right here, informational interview handout, Dennis O'Hagan. If you click on that, up will come, you can click right here, and there's a 5-page handout about informational interviewing. The first page is what is it? The second page is how to approach somebody, how to make that phone call. The third page is what happens if there is an objection and, well, I don't have time to see you, or sorry, we don't have any options, any openings right now. Responses here. Then the 4th and 5th page are questions. So you can, in the search box, just either type in Dennis O'Hagan or informational interviews and look for Dennis's handout, and it'll be right there.
Great, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see.
Hey, John, can I add into the conversation?
Sure.
One of the things that I really like about Jeff's presentation is in his first couple of slides, he used the term exchange.
Yes.
And it really is a exchange of relationship equity is what I call it. At least 2 things, 2 questions that as you either go into your network event or coming out of the network event. Coming out of it, how can I help you? One of the things that after 20 or 30 minutes of some very gracious conversation about culture, who do I talk to, you know, all of those things. I'm always listening for that network contact to maybe say, how can I help you? I'm a recruiter. So having access to your network, someone that you could recommend, is something that will differentiate you. The second thing is asking, is there someone you know? Now that's not asking for a job, that is a directional question that Patricia asked someone in her contact. Is there someone that you know in HR, the hiring manager, and being able to then leverage, oh, by the way, Foster Williams or Locke Alderson told me or asked me to give you a phone call. Mm-hmm. You're now using Locke or Foster's equity, relationship equity, as you're being introduced to me. Do I necessarily talk to a stranger? I'm not sure. But if you use a name that I know, like a John Luce or a Jeff Morse, absolutely, positively, I give that person a phone call back, okay?
It turns a cold call into a warm call.
Yeah.
And also, don't be disappointed if somebody just totally blows you off. What that tells me is that person probably has never been laid off in their life. They've never gone through what you're going through right now. They will someday, and they will learn what you have learned and what you're going through now. But, you know, listen, everybody who's on this call, if somebody called you up and said, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time? you're going to give them 15 minutes of your time because you know the value of helping somebody else. Those people who've never been laid off, who've never had to look for a job, they don't understand that yet. So don't be upset if somebody does blow you off.
Right.
Okay. Pursuing the chat, I don't have any additional questions. Does anybody have any questions? You can use the raise hand icon at the bottom of your participants box or window or pane, whatever you want to refer to it as, and we will have you ask the question verbally. Dolores.
Hi there.
This is always good for
But just kind of wanted to continue on that previous thought. When that person comes to you, I would say don't treat them the way they treated you initially. Always pay it forward and always help them, because you never know whether you're going to be in that position again.
Excellent comment.
Yes.
I have a question for everybody. If you'll open up your participant box and you have a yes or no spot down there, do you know somebody who lives in a different city than you do who's currently unemployed? That's what I'm asking. Who's unemployed? Do you know somebody who lives in a different city who's unemployed? Click yes or no. All right. Well, the reason I asked that question is, so there's a number of people, it's about 50-50, and some people are answering in the chat box too instead of the yes/no thing. The reason I asked that is that we're very lucky here in the DFW area to have so many online groups that anybody can participate around the country.
Absolutely.
You know, let them know about the valuable training that you're getting here, the other training classes that are going on, the workshops, the networking events. The opportunities abound. And the fact that what we have in the DFW area, I think we're very, very lucky. So let those people know that in other communities that, hey, here's something you need to check out. Because we have plenty of space. We could have had 55 more people on the phone, on the Zoom call today. So, you know, we have plenty of room. We should have thousands of people watching us.
Absolutely.
One more thing, guys, if you will. As we are looking at companies and scrolling through job postings and things, if you see a job posting that really, really screams your name, oh my goodness, God made this position for me. Well, yes, go ahead and apply for that position. In this network, we try to add a person to just apply online. And then what you do is pull up that company and see who you think might be in that very department that you're applying for a position in. See if you think, you know, I think I might want to talk to that person. Pull up their profile, see who, if you're not connected to them, more than likely you're not. Find out who you are in common connection with. Reach out to those people that are common connections. Ask them what their relationship is with that person. Have that informational interview with that person. But then if things go right, and you have to use your discernment ship on this kind of thing, ask that person how well they know that person, and if they wouldn't mind giving you a introduction to that person because you saw a wonderful job in that department or that company that person is working. That's me all the time. I'm always thinking about how to connect. We're just people. Everybody that I can see on here looks like people. I don't know. John looks a little suspect, but we can talk about that later. But that's who we are, and that's, guys, how we connect.
Ouch.
That was John Luce, not the other John.
Hey, Jeff, I've got a question. It was through the chat box, but I want to direct it to the panel, if you'd like to answer it, or Foster or Locke. If you're in conversation with a very, very new network connection, you bring up that you're in transition or you've been laid off.
Do you?
Foster, Locke?
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
was,
like to tell people that COVID got me. If that, if
it doesn't
that's,
look like it, Foster. You look too healthy.
thanks, Locke.
But I think that's a good idea. You don't have to bring it up. Hey, I'm out of work. Do you have any jobs for me? But you can let people know I am in transition right now. I'm looking for opportunities. If you hear of something, I welcome a chance to follow up on it.
Right. Especially if you are in the market now because of COVID-19, you definitely want to say, hey, I got COVID.
Here's something I heard from somebody, and I think it's a great little tool, is that every 3 weeks you need to send an email out, and you have a couple different email lists. One goes to your family, friends, and neighbors, and the other one goes to your business contacts, people that you've networked with. And both of them sort of start out the same way. Hi, I want to thank the following people for helping me in the last couple of weeks, and you mention a couple names. You're sending this out blind copy, so you can just mention any name you want. The second paragraph is, just as a reminder, I'm looking for a position as an XYZ, or I'm trying to find contacts at the following company. If you know of anybody, please let me know. Thanks. That's it. Short, sweet, simple. Send it out every 3 weeks. The first week, somebody may not think about you. The second time you send it out, oh yeah, Joe's looking for a job. The third time, oh, let me see who I can send. Other people are helping Jeff out. I need to go help Jeff too. So that may be something you want to do. You keep the email real short. Every 3 weeks, send it out blind copy to, 2 of your mailing list. And, it's not like the old days where you were embarrassed to be laid off.
Right.
20% of the country's laid off right now. Let people know, because you never, ever know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's right on, Jeff. I think that, and the 80% that aren't laid off at some point in their career, it's happened to almost 85% of the working population.
Mm-hmm.
That they've been furloughed, they've been reduction in force and whatnot, which leads me to another thing to tack on to what you were saying. On LinkedIn, there are groups that are alumni of companies. In other words, these are people who worked for an organization, thought they had a career, whatever, and then got reduction in force due to changes in the economy, changes in market share by their organization or whatever. And you can reconnect with those people. You can search those groups and see who's worked there. And maybe somebody you haven't talked to in 5 years, but you used to meet them in the lunchroom and have great conversations, or you went to a company-sponsored event together, or whatever. You can reestablish those connections because they're now someplace else, and they may be in a place that you're targeting. So many companies, I know I worked for Sprint for a number of years, and there's a Sprint alumni group on LinkedIn. And that there's a way to reestablish connections that maybe have gone by the wayside because things have changed and circumstances had you and other people going in different paths, but you can get back together again through things like alumni groups, not only for schools, but for companies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Dolores says, if the subject of being unemployed comes up, say so. It's not a taboo topic anymore. So she's absolutely correct. And most of us have been there. A few of us, and I think it's very much a minority, have. I know one gentleman who goes to Stonebriar on Wednesday nights to listen to Steve Farrar in the men's Bible study. He's been with AT&T for 31 years. And in today's economy, 31 years at the same organization, I think is very much a minority.
That is.
Rather than a majority.
That's a long time.
That's
Yeah,
a
it
long
is.
time, Rex.
Good for him though.
Yeah.
Good for him.
There are a number of people, there may be a few people, I know there's a couple of people on this call that have been affected by the goings on at JCPenney. And a number of those people have been at JCPenney for years and years and years. So guys, use it to your advantage.
Mhm.
Yeah. Brick and mortar retail is taking a big hit. Macy's, Neiman Marcus, and not all, when you talk about those retail organizations, you know, you immediately think, oh, sales, I'm standing on the floor. No, those people, those organizations have back offices, people running their IT departments, their marketing departments, communications departments. So it's not all out there on the sales floor. So a lot of those people are going to be entering into the market looking for employment.
Folks that are in armed forces, definitely while you're networking, definitely, did I say definitely? Definitely let folks know that you were in the armed forces. A lot of times, if you were in the same branch, guess what? People, especially the Marines, a lot of you guys really, really connect with each other. There's a guy named Christopher Percy, Percy, that has created the Marine Corps Business Network. So if any of you guys are Marines, connect with Christopher Percy and tell him that you heard Foster Williams running his big mouth at one of those meetings.
Any other questions of the panel about networking, or I'm surprised we don't have more questions about informational interviewing, because I think that's something some people have developed, have focused on developing a skill in informational interviewing, and it builds a quality network because you're building a relationship. And one of the key questions Jeff pointed out in his presentation was always, 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 always be sure if you do a one-on-one informational interview, you always want to offer the reciprocity and say, is there anything I can do for you now or in the future? Please contact me and let me know.
Hey, John, I want to expand people's thinking on what an informational interview can look like. It's just not a job that you ask for informational interview. It could be looking at a company culture. It could be
Yes.
looking at a possible industry space.
Yes.
It could be a possible occupational space. So if you're in distribution and maybe you want to get an organizational design and you know someone in that space, you can ask for that informational interview. So think very creatively, guys, on how you can connect. The informational interview is not exclusively, hey, I need more information about a job or a company.
Right. And there are a lot more, you're right, Rex, because there's a lot more people these days who are now out of work and they've decided, well, I think I'm going to try something else. Okay, any other questions? Locke, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm just going to be speaking next week.
That's
Nice
right.
segue. I'll be speaking on jumpstarting your job search. If
Okay.
anybody's ever had a car that died, they know what jumpstarting the car can be. So we'll talk about that next week at 3 o'clock.
Okay. Well, we will be here, and I will do my appropriate practicing and get things right.